Hello you beautiful misfits, my name is Matt and this is Pixelburn, where I take a snarky look at some of the more important, interesting or irritating things to have happened in recent gaming news. Starting with the biggest news item, which is of course the worldwide release of Red Dead Redemption 2 for Xbox One and PS4. Similarly unsurprising are the high review scores and rapturous praise it's received, although some have questioned a few of Rockstar's design choices. Nothing humongous or game ruining, merely some instances of attention to detail for the sake of it, straying a bit too far into obsessive territory at the expense of gameplay. Things like only being able to summon your horse if it's within earshot, annoyingly long animations for things like looting or skinning animals, and the need to balance your food intake so Arthur Morgan doesn't get too chubby or malnourished. Because that was so much fun in GTA San Andreas, wasn't it? GameSpot's review was one of several that raised this uneasy dichotomy of quasi-realism and immersion versus gameplay and fun, but it was literally the only thing they had a problem with, and so they gave Red Dead Redemption 2 a score of 9 out of 10. Which apparently wasn't enough for a vocal coterie of hype-addled dickheads out there, because 9 out of 10 is now the new 8 out of 10, and not giving a perfect score to a game with a huge marketing budget has somehow become the moral equivalent of a genocide for some people. Minor quibbles aside, it looks absolutely fantastic, and I hope everyone playing it is having a whale of a time. Hence why I'm not expecting many views on this video, well, less than the not many I usually get. I expect most of you will be far too busy watching virtual horse testicles expand and contract in real time, depending on the in-game weather. I myself would also be staring in rapt awe at those contracting horse bollocks alongside you, and this video wouldn't exist if, alas, I didn't only own a PC and a Switch. But I won't let that get me down, and I hope you're all having fun with it. I'll just play it in between 7 to 18 months time when the PC version eventually comes out. Whoa, no, do not take that as a scoop. I do not have a secret insider at Rockstar North I keep plied with crates of Iron Brew and shortbread to sustain their 100-hour work weeks naturally, who told me the PC version will be out next year. It is merely a semi-educated guess extrapolated from stuff Rockstar's pulled before, like the gap between the Xbox One and PS4 versions of GTA 5 and the subsequent PC one, as well as the fact that there have only been about 3 Rockstar games that never made it to PC. Red Dead Redemption the first, Midnight Club Los Angeles, and that table tennis game they did. And let's not forget of course this LinkedIn entry from an anonymous Rockstar Leeds employee that mentioned working on a PC version of Red Dead 2. So yeah, I'm 99% positive Red Dead 2 on PC is a done deal, and it's simply a case of waiting for Rockstar to officially announce it. I can wait. I'll be late to the party, but I'll get there eventually. Besides, what other version will let you replace the main character with Woody from Toy Story? Oh, I assure you, someone has that mod ready to go and upload within 12 hours of the PC version going live. Maybe even 6. Assuming of course that Rockstar don't make the PC version as humanly difficult as possible to mod, but even then someone with a lot of free time, or a burning desire to see the Old West populated entirely by anime schoolgirls, will find a way. Arguably the second biggest news was the first public beta, or break it early test application, for Fallout 76. At 7 PM Eastern Yankee time, 4 PM Best Coast time, and midnight here in ye old Britain, on Tuesday 23rd of October, a veritable horde of aspiring Xbox One owning Vault dwellers logged on, created their post-apocalyptic alter egos, poured out of Vault 76 into a virtual irradiated West Virginia, and did a bunch of Fallout stuff together, for a grand total of 4 hours. Which for most Fallout fans in any other Fallout game would have amounted to about 1 hour of gameplay and 3 hours of character creation, but as this one is all multiplayer and only a beta, I'd wager even the most picky face sculptors swallowed their pride, hit randomise until they got something that wasn't completely hideous, then jumped in and gallivanted around a post-atomic Appalachia, alongside people with names like Pen 15 Inspector, for the remaining 3 hours and 50 something minutes. Of course I didn't play it myself. For one thing, you have to have pre-ordered the game in order to be eligible for it, and when it comes to Fallout 76, I'm still very much inspecting the fence before I make a decision whether or not to fetch the stepladder. I have more productive things to be doing at midnight UK time on a Tuesday night / Wednesday morning, like ringing doorbells with a bullet while counting the minutes until Hitman 2 comes out. From the accounts of people who did manage to get in and play it for all of 4 hours, it supposedly looks and feels very much like Fallout 4. Like anybody was expecting anything otherwise. While it may look and feel like Fallout 4, it doesn't exactly play like Fallout 4 for the big obvious real-time multiplayer reason. Hence why the VAT system, instead of freezing or slowing down time, turns your firearm of choice into a shittier version of that gun Gary Oldman has in The Fifth Element. You still pick which extremity you want to shoot at and get a percentage chance of hitting it, but the percentages change in real time. So hypothetically, You might see a headshot chance of 99% and go to take the shot, only to have it abruptly switch to 12% right as you pull the trigger. The general consensus seems to be that you're better off trying to aim manually. Although Fallout 76 is built on a heavily modified Fallout 4 base, and while Fallout 4 shooting mechanics were a significant improvement on Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas's, we ain't exactly talking Doom 2016 or Wolfenstein 2 here. Another thing remarked upon by people who got to play it, and semi-common knowledge since E3, is there are indeed no non-hostile human NPCs to interact with. No Bennies, no Ulysses, no Liam Neesons. The only other human face you'll ever see and possibly converse with in your journey through the West Virginia wasteland will belong to people like Greston Parvey 22, or Cockpuncher. Which in all fairness is how it has to be for a multiplayer Fallout. Imagine if Fallout 3 had been as it was, yet also a similar online multiplayer thing. How many players do you think would realise Megaton hadn't always been a smoking irradiated crater? So of course Fallout 76 has no NPCs. If it did, and if any of them were even a smidgen less resilient than, say, the average neutron star, they'd be nailed to a cross quicker than you could say Ave true to Kaiser. Hence why anything you get a quest from in Fallout 76 is either a robot, a discarded data disk, a scrawled note on a corpse, a diary entry in a terminal, or some other conversationally one-sided contrivance. The in-game lore explanation, of course, is that the psychotic ne'er-do-wells of Vault 76 are among, if not the, first to emerge above ground after the bombs dropped, so they're the only people around. Having no non-robotic NPCs is entirely understandable, yet also something of a pity. To me, Fallout's always been about exploring the post-apocalypse, seeing how people had survived and endured, then talking to them about it. A Fallout game without NPCs to charm, pickpocket, murder in cold blood for bottle caps, or generally fuck about with is a Fallout game missing a chunk of what makes Fallout games fun. Another obvious omission is you can't tickle the quick save button if you feel either the slightest bit threatened or suspect you're about to get stuck waist deep in a hill for no reason. Whereas in all the single player Bethesda Fallouts, as well as the Elder Scrolls series, saving of any kind was important because once you died you were dead. Fallout 76 has a checkpoint system, meaning that when Panty Sniffer 420 hacks you to death with a rusted machete in a mildewed cabin near the Mothman Museum, you were reborn at the last checkpoint you activated and then have to go do a corpse run to retrieve some of your stuff. On the bright side, the only stuff you lose on death is any junk you've scavenged. Still, these factors combined with my general reticence towards anything online and survival based make me not really all that particularly excited to play Fallout 76. While I could in theory have a bit of fun in it with a friend or two for a couple of hours, that doesn't feel enough for me to justify the £45 asking price. So I very likely won't be playing it when it's released on November 14th. But don't let that stop you obviously if you're that way inclined. In other news, and right on time for Halloween, the PC version of Alan Wake is back on Steam. As some of you may know, it disappeared from the store in May of last year because the rights to some licensed songs featured in the game had expired. An issue that's also affected other games that make use of licensed music, a notable example being GTA San Andreas. When the rights to the licensed music in that title expired, Rockstar simply put out a patch that stripped them from the game. Which they could do quite easily because the licensed tracks were nearly all confined entirely to in-game radio stations you could turn on or off. Unfortunately, in Alan Wake's case, the music is more tightly interwoven with the overall experience and integral to the atmosphere and narrative themes. Taking the Rockstar route and just flat out removing all licensed tunes in it would be like taking out the iconic Pocket Watch tune from the end of For a Few Dollars More. Or even worse, replacing it with something utterly inappropriate.
Try and shoot me, Colonel. Just try.
So the only other option was to pull it from sale, but now it's back, thanks to Microsoft renegotiating the music rights and paying the requisite licensing fees on Remedy's behalf. It's also currently got a whopping 90% discount until the end of October, so if you have a PC and you still haven't played Alan Wake, then you've really no excuses now, have you? But Matt, I hear some of you say, I'm not really comfortable playing horror games. Look, it's not flat out, in your face, jump scares out the wazoo terrifying, the way Dead Space 1 and 2 are for some people, although not for me. If anything, it's the perfect title for horror game newbies to dip their toes in the pitch black lake of the genre. And I say that as someone who took 4 years to finish Alien Isolation. If you can get through a Stephen King novel, you can get through Alan Wake. And you should, because, as I've said previously, it's basically an interactive love letter to the American horror tradition. So if you're strictly a PC gamer and don't have Alan Wake, do yourself a favour and pick it up while it's cheap. It's not like you'll be playing Red Dead Redemption 2 between now and November. Alan Wake isn't the only game that's made a triumphant return to Steam. This week also saw the re-release of Hellgate London? 1 second. Steve! Steve! What the fuck is this?
It's about...
You fucking call this news? Hellgate cocking London.
I'm sorry.
It came out 11 years ago, Steve, and you know what? It was shit. So shit that the only thing I even remember about it is the ad campaign. Now, it had some ideas that were ahead of its time, but do you know how well they were executed? About as well as a man at a gallows made of fudge, Steve. Nobody needs Hellgate London when they have Warframe, Destiny 2, Borderlands, Borderlands 2... Shit, any other game that took what ideas Hellgate had and improved on them.
I'm sorry.
No, pack your shit. You're fucking sacked. Now I need a new researcher. Hellgate London. I picked a terrible month to go sober. That's all for this episode of Pixel Burn. If you liked it, then please do let me know by tenderly pressing all the requisite buttons, and let your friends, your family and Rockstar's HR department know as well. At the very least, I hope you found it tolerable. If you found it significantly more than tolerable, however, you might consider joining some of the officially lovely misfits that help support the channel on Patreon, such as Ben Anderson, Tim Lane and Tim Albers here. Meanwhile, till next time, you can all go back to playing Red Dead Redemption 2 now, jammy sods.